Hi everyone, Patrick here. So today's video, it will be episode 70 of SFF Spotlight. And just like usual, I have about 15 topics to cover today. And for those of you who are new here, this is a series of videos where I usually talk about new Kickstarter campaign, new special edition, new book news, and also cover reveal and noteworthy release in the adult science fiction and fantasy genre. And yeah, I think for today's video, I will start by talking about Kickstarter campaign first. I have 4 Kickstarter campaigns to spotlight today, and for the first one, I want to, of course, spotlight the Kickstarter campaign of The Sword of Kaigen and Where Loyalties Lie by Wraithmarked. Sword of Kaigen is written by M.L. Wang, and Where Loyalties Lie is written by Rob J. Hayes. So Wraithmarked is determined to make a series of special edition comprising of SPFBO Champion, that self-published fantasy blog-off that is hosted by Mark Lawrence every year. And for this year, we have The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang and also Where Loyalties Lie. They are both designed by Shawn T and also illustrated by Tom Jilesen. I think the result, both of them are absolutely incredible. And yeah, this edition, even though this is cheaper than the previous edition of The Sword of Kaigen, it still comes with acid-free paper, Smithson binding, new cover art, and also spray edges, including colored end papers as well. The difference when it comes to The Sword of Kaigen with the previous edition with the cover art by Felix Ortiz is that there is no gilded edges here, and also there are no interior artwork. In the previous edition of The Sword of Kaigen, there are 2 black and white interior illustrations. Those are the only difference, and I do personally like this new cover art by Tom Jilesen even more than the previous edition by Felix Ortiz, which is saying a lot because I really love the previous edition already. And at this one, you have the option to choose only one book, and that is to choose only The Sword of Kaigen or Where Loyalties Lie, or maybe to buy them as a set. And as I mentioned earlier, well, there will be more books by SPFBO Champion appearing down the line. And I think right now, the Kickstarter campaign is already above $250,000 in funding. So there's only one more stretch goal to meet, and that is for a special illustrated on, I think, spray edges. But yeah, this Kickstarter campaign has been a massive success because it reached more than $150,000 in less than 24 hours. That is impressive, seriously impressive, and I'm happy for M.L. Wang, Rob J. Hayes, and also Wraithmarked for this. And for those of you who missed out on the previous edition of The Sword of Kaigen, this is your chance for a new hardcover, high-quality hardcover edition of The Sword of Kaigen. And I want to say thank you so much to Wraithmarked for sponsoring today's video. It means a lot to me. So yeah, make sure to check out the Kickstarter campaign. And the next Kickstarter campaign I want to spotlight, this is for The Fall of Wizardoms Deluxe Edition by Jeffrey Kohanek. For those of you who acquired a copy of the previous Wizardom series by Jeffrey Kohanek, this 2 Omnibus edition will conclude the series. It will come with the same specs as the previous Kickstarter campaign. So yeah, make sure to check it out if you back the first Kickstarter campaign. And moving on to the next campaign, this is for the Fatemarked series, the entire series by David Estes. So yeah, this one will have all 5 books in the series, all 5 books immediately in one campaign. And yeah, it will be a deluxe hardcover edition. It will come with Smithson binding, acid-free paper, and also interior artworks by Andrew Malaski and Joe Requeza. One of the fully colored interior illustrations by Joe Requeza has been revealed, and I think it looks gorgeous. Look at those dragons. And I haven't read this series yet. I heard a lot of great things about the Fatemarked series, and it was, I think, one of my priorities is that I want to start within this year, if I'm not mistaken. Either this year or last year, but again, just like usual, I couldn't get around to it, and hopefully I can get that fixed as soon as possible. But for those of you who are a fan of Fatemarked or maybe Kingfall Histories by David Estes, you might want to check this one out. I think the Kickstarter campaign for this one will begin really soon. And for the last Kickstarter campaign I want to spotlight, this is not for a book, but this is for a limited playmat collection by Kieran Yanner. I think many of you will know Kieran Yanner from his work on the cover art of the Sun Eater series. That's for book 2 up to book 6, from Howling Dark, Demon in White, Kingdoms of Death, Ashes of Men, and finally this Quiet Gods. You know, some of the best cover art in science fiction and space opera. And yeah, he's releasing his own limited playmat collection, and I think if you are a fan of that, you might want to check this one out. So yeah, that's really it for Kickstarter campaign. And speaking of Kieran Yanner, now let's talk about the Sun Eater Broken Binding Edition. I think by the time I'm recording this video, I think the special edition for the Broken Binding edition of the Sun Eater series for book 1 until book 3 will be sold out already, and I think it is amazing. Honestly, the demand and also the buying for this one, it has been truly incredible. Everyone at the Broken Binding is really pleased, and that includes Christopher Ruocchio as well. But for those of you who missed out on it, do not worry about it. I think the Broken Binding is looking to do a reprint of the first 3 books, and then eventually, of course, print the second set, which will comprise, I think 2 books or 3 books. And that's for book 4 until book 5, or maybe until book 6 of the Sun Eater. But yeah, there will be a reprint of the Sun Eater series Broken Binding Edition. So if you see some really jacked up prices of the Sun Eater Broken Binding Edition, do not buy them, okay? There will be a reprint. It is very likely there will be a reprint, and if you are interested in that, then make sure to fill out the interest form. But yeah, it has been really amazing to see the sales for this edition of the Sun Eater proceeding really well. And speaking of interest, the next special edition that I want to spotlight from the Broken Binding, this is for the Hyperion by Dan Simmons. So yeah, it has been confirmed that Gary Ruddell, his cover art, the original and iconic cover art of Hyperion Cantos, will be used again for the Broken Binding edition of the Hyperion Cantos. And yeah, I think they will look amazing because these are some of the best cover art as well in the science fiction, in my opinion. I really love how iconic they look now, especially for the cover art of book 2 until book 4. But I love all the cover art of Hyperion Cantos, and yeah, I think there is an interest list. So just like the Sun Eater and also Malazan, Book of the Fallen, if you want to have early access to the Broken Binding edition of Hyperion, make sure to fill out the interest form. That way, you will be notified and have early access to buy the book when it's out. You don't have to wait until general sale, because judging from the sales of the Sun Eater, I think it's better for you to fill out the interest form. But I'm sure there will be more news about this. Moving on to the final 2 special edition by the Broken Binding, these are reveals of To Green Angel Tower Siege. First, that's the first one, To Green Angel Tower Siege by Ted Williams. This is the 3rd novel in the Memory, Sorrow, Anton trilogy, but because of the size of To Green Angel Tower, which is 520,000 words long, this book will be divided into 2 volumes. So yeah, To Green Angel Tower Siege is the first volume. And once again, the cover art is done by Jeff Brown. I work as an art director for this one, and I really love the result of this. I think Jeff Brown really nailed what I wanted in the cover art, and it's really easy to work with Jeff Brown. I really like collaborating with him, and many people have mentioned that this is their favorite cover art of the series so far. Hopefully we can top that in the final cover art of the series, and that's To Green Angel Tower Storm. Personally speaking, I cannot wait to receive the copies of this myself, and that includes the next one as well, which is the cover art of Dark Forest by Cixin Liu, translated by Joel Martinson. And yeah, this is, I think, whether it's Memory, Sorrow, Anton trilogy or Remembrance of Earth's Past or the 3-Body Problem trilogy, I think I just immediately know what the cover art would be. When I work on these projects, I knew immediately what I wanted to appear on the cover art, and I think everything I wanted really appear in the cover art, including the Mandarin words in the 3 bubbles in the cover art here, and that's the word thing for stop. I will not tell you what they meant, but if you have read the books up to the end, I think you will understand what this Easter eggs means. And also, pretty much everything about this cover art is really taken and symbolic from the book Dark Forest. And yeah, Dark Forest is one of my top favorite sci-fi books of all time, and seeing that people are happy with the result of the cover art. I think that makes me happy as well. I hope Cixin Liu will be thrilled with this one. Well, I haven't talked with Cixin Liu yet, but I hope that he is thrilled with the result. But yeah, that's really it for the Broken Binding news. The next special edition, this is from Hoarder, and this is for Red Rising by Prisbound. I think Hoarder is releasing their own special edition of Red Rising from their Hoarder Vault. And yeah, this one has been announced, Red Rising, the first book in the Red Rising saga, and I assume there will be more books in the series getting the special edition treatment as well. At least that's what I assume. And lastly, on the topic of special edition, the last special edition I want to spotlight, this is for a manga, and it is one of my top favorite manga series of all time, and it is the reveal of the cover art of the deluxe hardcover edition of Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue. Honestly, I did not expect the design and everything about this hardcover edition to look this good, because the cover art for Berserk and also Vinland Saga Deluxe Hardcover Edition, they were all simple. But this one, it even features illustration from the book and a removable obi, and wow, it's beautiful really. I definitely will get a copy of this Deluxe Hardcover Edition when it's out in, I think, January 2025. And if you haven't read Vagabond yet, please give this series a try. Whether you are new to manga or not, I think it is a legendary manga that everyone must try. It is absolutely amazing. And Takehiko Inoue illustration, they are so filled with intent and so masterfully illustrated. You're gonna love it. So yeah, that's on the topic of special edition. Now let's move on to the next section. It is time to talk about noteworthy release. These are for books that were recently released, and I think they are worth checking out, even though I haven't read them yet. And the first one is The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. I have read the first trilogy by Andrea Stewart, the Drowning Empire trilogy, and I had such a great time reading that. I will certainly be reading The Gods Below as well. I think right now, at the time of recording this video, I believe a review copy is on the way to me, and yeah, as I said, I look forward to reading it. Hopefully, I will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The Bone Shard Daughter, the first book or the debut novel by Andrea Stewart. And then the next one that I want to spotlight, this is for Asunder by Kirsten Hall. Ever since I saw the cover art by illustrated by Greg Ruth, I knew immediately that I wanted to check this one out. And then after checking out the premise, it really sounded incredible, so I think I will have to check this one out for sure. But if you have read this book, let me know what you think about Asunder by Kirsten Hall. And then after that, in the self-published fantasy portion, the first one that I want to spotlight, this is for The Dark Drinker by Zamil Akhtar. This is the fourth novel in the Gunmetal Gods series, and I haven't read the Gunmetal Gods series yet, and I think in my previous episode or another episode, I mentioned that The Dark Drinker will be the final book in the Gunmetal Gods series. So that's a mistake. Apparently, it is not the final book. It is the penultimate installment in the Gunmetal Gods series. Because when I last talked with Zamil Akhtar, he mentioned that The Dark Drinker will be the final book in the Gunmetal Gods series. But that situation has changed. There will be one more book in the series, unless that change again. So that remains to be seen. But Daniel Green has praised Gunmetal Gods very highly, and I'm waiting for the ultimate edition of Gunmetal Gods to arrive before I start reading the series. And finally, the last noteworthy release I want to spotlight. This is for An Exile of Water and Gold. Honestly, don't know too much about this one, except that there is a huge tree in the cover art, and this cover art is illustrated by Jeff Brown. Somehow the cover art actually reminded me of Final Fantasy IX. Yeah, the Lifa tree or the Lifa tree from Final Fantasy IX, or Yggdrasil from Norse mythology. So I will be reading this one too eventually. And finally, moving on to the final section and also the last two topics of today's SFF Spotlight episode, time to talk about some TV show and movie adaptation stuff. The first one is only about Arcane. Arcane Season 2, which will premiere in November 2025, is one of my most anticipated show of this year. And the first trailer is out now, and as you can probably expect, it's looking absolutely incredible. Really cannot wait for this one, and I guess it is time for me to do another rewatch of the first season of Arcane. It is one of my favorite shows in the recent years, and I hope Season 2 will be able to conclude the Arcane series as satisfying as possible. And finally, moving on to the final topic of today's episode, this is about George R.R. Martin and his rant about House of the Dragon. Now, I will not go into full details about this one because that will take another new episode. But basically, in the blog post that I think has now been deleted, George Martin pretty much said his grievance about House of the Dragon Season 2 and what it means for what's going to happen next in Season 3 and Season 4. So yeah, he's not happy with some of the changes, and HBO even counter George R. Martin about this. So for those of you who are really caught up with this news, I will attach the link in the description down below. But for those of you who are caught up with this news, do let me know what you think about the situation. I'm curious to hear what you think about it because I have watched Season 2 of House of the Dragon. Not gonna lie, I am disappointed with it. I think some of the direction are really... It feels almost like fillers to me. And I have read the book Fire and Blood and also World of Ice and Fire. I really enjoyed Season 1 thoroughly, but this Season 2, I think there are some issues with the pacing and also some content just went on way too long, especially Daemon in Harrenhal. That feels so unnecessary to me to be that long. But that's just my thoughts. Do let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below, including all the topics that I just mentioned, because that's the end of today's episode of SFF Spotlight. For those of you who watch my vlog videos, I just want to say thank you so much as well. The video is filled with so many kind comments, and I will try to release part 2 of the vlog of my UK vlog and WorldCon video, I think on Friday or on Saturday, but I will do my best to compile them and make sure they are as easy to watch, as possible. So yeah, that's really it for today's video. As always, I want to say thank you so much for watching and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.